It took Richard Kleck a mere 120 days to become a celebrity at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. When the doctors wanted to remove his eye, he said, "No, this is not happening." Focusing on the simplicity yet profoundness of Jilin Qigong, he did what he needed to do. A fantastic inspiration for all of us. My name is Thorsten Lüdecke, and this is the Wisdom Qigong podcast. So, Richard, you said that you would like to talk about how important Jilin Qigong is in your life and has been in your life, and you mentioned the simplicity yet the profoundness of Jilin Qigong. So maybe you would like to take us through your journey, what happened, about your life, about how you met Jilin Qigong, and what it means to you, please.
Great. Well, I'm delighted to do that, and I'm very excited to be with you, Torsten, and share my story. Those that know me, I'm an open book about myself and how I may help people. So I was born in 1952. I live in New York State in the United States. Through my early youth, I was very drawn to Eastern practices. But at that time in the world, there wasn't so much communication between East and West. And so I became familiar through my own medical process of 2018 with Jilin Qigong science and Huanyuan Qi therapy very intimately and very, very successfully. Going back, looking at my life, we all have many events in our life. I'm going to go back to a time in 1985 where, the universe gives you what you need. It's just not always right there present. So a friend of mine whose name is E.H. Jarrow, he's an author. He's passed on. He was a Vassar College professor, well-known worldwide astrologer, yogi, and author, has had a saying that you get one of the 4 Ds for you to try to change your life. And I got all 4 of them in 1 week. So the universe will give it to you in buckets. And the Ds are death, divorce, downsizing, and depression, I think. Maybe that's the 4th one, maybe not. But all came at me one time, and I had no place to go. So in that week, I had really no place to go when everything happened, and I embraced change, and I began many mindful practices. So when my eye process started, I had much experience and much education and certification. Ironically, I cite 2018 because that's when the diagnosis came in. But in 2016, I found myself on top of Mount Hua in central China, taking an abundance of photographs of my right eye only, which is the eye that everything occurred in. And fast forward a little bit, 2017, I had an incident in that eye and I moved through it. In January of 2018, I had an experience that I couldn't move through. I had an intense ocular migraine. And so the next morning, I decided to go to Western Medical. And through a series of process, I met a eye doctor, and he gave me some ointment. He said, "Well, I think you just have a scratched cornea," and all that. 3 weeks later, I didn't agree with him, and I went back to him, and he went deeper. And he didn't say much to me. He just said, "I'm making an appointment for you for a retinologist that's close to here." I said, "Okay." So I went outside, and I got this immediate phone call from this office of this doctor. And they said, "Can you be here in 20 minutes?" And I go, "Sure. Okay." And it went right over my head, whatever was going on, because how often does a Western medical doctor call you and say, "Can you be here in 20 minutes?" So I went up there and really, I was just going through the process, and they did all the same testing. And I'm sitting in the room, and this nurse comes in, and she sits down quietly with me and is speaking to me. And I thought that was a little unusual, but okay. So the retinologist comes in. He's a very large man, and he's, all white, and I'm sitting down, and he comes in and introduces himself, and he says, you have a detached retina. I go, okay. Could that be because of this? Could be in a big booming voice. He goes, no, absolutely not. He goes, you have a 9 millimeter malignant melanoma tumor in the back of your eye, and if you don't deal with it properly, it will be lethal to you. And so, I experienced lots of things in my life, and I said, okay. I said, I'd rather be in your chair. Then I said to him very poignantly, and I feel words make incredible worlds that we live in, and words are very important mindset too. And I said, I will survive, I will thrive, and I will see again. And he was just taken aback. And he goes, "My, you're different." And I said, "Yeah, I am. We'll get to know each other." So I said, "Look, you've done all this work. I really do want to hear what you feel your prognosis is. How many people do you see like this? This kind of thing." He goes, "Well, what I'm seeing in your eye is 1 in 4 million occurrence. And the way I see proceeding is enucleation." And I said, I don't know what that word really means, but I'm not getting a real good feeling about it. He goes, "We remove your eye." And I quietly and respectfully said to him, "No, it's not happening." So we talked a little bit more. And he said, "I know this really great doctor in New York City. I live 2 hours north of New York City." And he said, I can't remember his last name, he's at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital, which is this huge cancer specialist hospital in the United States. And I want to say right here, I've never related to the word cancer. Okay. It's still an enigma for me in my life. So he goes, his first name is Brian. I don't remember his last name, but he raises sheep. And I go, "Well, that's good." And I didn't say much to him. I said, but it was very comforting to me because I have a farm background, and anyone that raises sheep is grounded. So I said, thumbs up, first plus in the whole circumstance. So the rest of the afternoon, I have conversations with people. Deborah is at work. She's a psychiatric nurse. She calls me, said, "How'd it go?" I said, "I have a detached retina." I wasn't about to speak to her about the rest of it. I said, "Let's talk when you get home." She said, "Okay." So I gave her the news, and she was absolutely devastated and crushed. And she fell on the floor crying. And she looked, because she's a Western nurse, and she looked up at me and said, "You're kidding." I said, "No, dear, I'm not." And then she went back to crying. And I spoke to her, and we just settled down. And I said, "We're going to tell our 4 children. And then after that, I'm removing myself from the world to heal this. This is my point. This is my plan. I will only see 2 patients, a 10-year-old autistic young man that I've been seeing for 3 years, and another person, and I will only do 1 class weekly at Vassar College. Outside of that, everything else is off limits. I'm going to take care of this. I will be okay. I'll guarantee you that." Okay. So we went through a bunch of different things. She took a family leave. We did energy work. We did lots of Qigong. We did lots of whatever. And I had an appointment set up at Columbia Presbyterian where Dr. Marr, the Brian Marr, the sheep raiser, was, and he is the head of the department at Columbia Presbyterian. Before we went there, we went to Chinatown, and I went to an acupuncturist whose name is Andrew Huey, who's the protege of the prophecy birth, Jeffrey Ewan, who Deborah and I had been students and patients of for 20 years. He gave me a treatment, and at the end of the treatment, he goes, "You want me to be honest, don't you?" And I go, "Absolutely." He goes, "I've known you for a long time." He goes, "This is your rage in your life." I go, "Okay." He goes, "I know all about what you've done and your mindful practice and your martial, and I'm just feeling this. And I want to tell you that I feel," this is Andrew speaking, "that if you didn't have your mindful practice for your life, you'd be crazy or in jail or dead or something else." I said, "Okay, all right, fine." And good treatment, good analysis, and, we all have life and everything else.
My name is Leila Cupido, and I'm the project manager of the Students Hub. Our team is constantly adding events, teachers, videos, and other resources to take your practice to the next level, improving the quality of your life and the life of the people around you. We do this work for you, so please use it. Hun Yuan Ling Tong.
Was that something you were aware of yourself, that you had this rage, or was it breaking complete news to you?
So the word rage is pretty strong.
Yes.
And you and I have been together, and, I don't know that you go away from me thinking rage.
Mhm.
I've had a lot of events in my life which have been really, in Zheneng, in Huanyuan Qi therapy, we call them heart stones. Okay. And these heart stones have been, very strong. There's probably, 6 or 8 of them. And the eye is the orifice to the liver in Chinese medicine, which is angry, frustrated, and feeling stuck, essentially. Okay. The heart meridian runs through it somewhere, which would be rage. So I had to take it in, and
Right.
I had to absorb it. And this is a man that I regarded. He's 25 years younger than I am. And that doesn't mean anything, but just as some frame of reference for here. So again, all my frame of references are part of my life, and I accepted it. All right. So then we went up to Columbia Presbyterian and we met this doctor, and Deborah and I both looked at each other and said, this is an unusual Western doctor. He's open-hearted, and no, I'm not trying to be insulting to Western doctors, but they usually are very narrow in terms of their percepts of everything. All right. So there's many, many Western doctors out there that are open-hearted. This man was open-minded and open-hearted. He went through everything with me, and he said, at the end of the conversation, like maybe an hour in, we're sitting there and he's drawing with crayons, and he's like maybe late 40s, early 50s, and a very pleasant fellow. And I owe a great deal to him. So he goes, as I see it, you have 5 options. And I go, what about enucleation? He goes, that's the last one. He goes, if I remove your eye, which I can very easily, you'll never see from that eye again. And I said, okay. And, with my own training and belief and experiences, that's just the physical manifestation of a root element that has got to be changed. In Zheneng and Huanyuan, we say that when the flower is ill in the garden, you must change the soil, all right, and move on so that the flower can thrive. Just cutting the flower head off isn't going to help what's going on in the soil. So he goes through the list, and at the top of the list is a radiation seed to be planted in my eye, what he knows to do. And he goes, if you were my brother, I would tell you to take option number 1. And I said, do you like your brother? Because I don't have any understanding of whatever. And the honest part is that I don't have a relationship with my brother. So not speaking to that, but I just wanted to know where he was coming from. And he laughed and he said, yeah, I do. And this is my best shot for you. He further said, I know you're not completely on board with this, but I'd like to schedule it. I'm going away to Ireland. I'd like to schedule it, get it in the schedule, and you decide what you want to do. And I thought that was perfect. We've already talked about the ramifications. He's also said this and said that, as the first gentleman did. So my wife and I went away with, a load. She was relieved because as a Western nurse and as my wife, she wants me to be okay.
Can I just, maybe I missed that point. What is option 1? What was option 1?
Okay. Option 1 was to put a radiation seed in my eye for 4 days. Okay. For 4 days. And that took a lot for me to assimilate and just feel, because it's not my belief system. I'm also being told that if I don't do something, I don't have long time in my life. Okay, and all right. And recently, my daughter reminded me that the knowledge that we had from this process was that if the malignancy spreads or metastasizes, it's a 1 in 10 chance, 10% of survivability. So these are the real Western statistics presented.
Mm.
So we went away and I decided to do it. And then his office calls me up and says, can you do it 3 weeks before? And then it becomes very real and I have a meltdown. I want to interject here something very important. From the 8 days of having the tumor in my eye discovered to when I met Dr. Marr, by their scientific calculations, I reduced the tumor 16% from 9 millimeters down to something like 7.6 or 4. Their measurements, not mine. And what I used during this time was intention. And I just addressed the tumor and said, you're not wanted. Your lease on my eye is up. You're being evicted. And I did many other things, but that was the essence of it. Now, I would just say my eye is normal, normal, normal. So I went through the operation. My wife couldn't be around me because of the radioactivity. They had Geiger counters on me all the time. It wasn't the toughest thing in the world that I've done, but it was unpleasant. And we were continuing to do our own stuff at the same time. So I had a month I had the first checkup post-op 1 month later. And this is when the journey really started in terms of everything. And the technician looking at my eye said, are you sure you had surgery? Because your eye doesn't look like you've had surgery at all. And then all of a sudden, the office was abuzz. Okay. And then I got to see Dr. Marr. He goes, your eye is amazing. I've never seen anything like this. 25 years, and I've never seen anything like this. What did you do? I know what I did, and I know I did it very well. What did you do? I started talking to him about it, and he started understanding it. He actually sent me patients. Okay. So from there, we went through the springtime. That was like March, and we did some other things. And through the—
May I just quickly, because I think there's an important point that you were mentioning here with the intention. We know how important intention is in Qin and Qigong, but we also know how important intention is basically everywhere in your life, whether you're a Qin and Qigong practitioner or not. And the mere fact that you say, when you explain yourself, you're not focusing on the exercises you did. You're not focusing on, something specific that you change your nutrition or whatever. You're really focusing on your intention. And the intention is the one's force that gives the signals to your bodily functions or to your organs to follow your instructions, basically. So I think this is a very powerful thing. I just don't want to run over it too much, because no matter what we're going to touch later on with regard to Qin and Qigong, this is the essence. Without intention, you can do as many exercises as you want to. It's not going to have a massive effect. So sorry for interrupting you, but I thought this is an important point.
I fully agree. And, the saying is, where the intention is put, the chi follows. And
right.
With my eye, I was doing everything non-Zhineng at that time. And Deborah and I, when working with people, would always implore the people not to put the word my in front of anything. Don't own it. So I never went to anything but the tumor in my eye, which is my eye, not the other way around, and I still won't. And like I said before, I never related to having cancer. And yes, I did get afraid, very honest, but at the same point, I detached as best as I could from the fear. And this was my intention too. And my intention was to survive and thrive and see again. I said that within the first 2 minutes of the retinologist giving me this very dire diagnosis. And so I was clear on it. And I'm fortunate in that way. And, here I am. So in the next interim, we found ourselves by province of the universe going to Kokolulu Retreat Center in Hawaii and meeting them. And team 3 was there for Huanyuan Qi therapy, and Britta was there, and Master Liu was there, and then Alfie and Raina Lammer were there. And Alfie and Raina were doing the holistic side of the retreat that we were in. And I think we were with 18 or 20 people, and we went through 4 or 5 days of this. And the first day, at lunch, I said to Deborah, I said, I don't know what this is, but it's very, very important. And I used other words. I don't know what Kool-Aid this is, but I think it's the right Kool-Aid. All right. And I said to her, I'm very, very drawn to this, very, very powerfully drawn. It's so simple. Dr. Pong, went right to where I now understand is the place to go and put the intention, the energy, and that is before, the Tai Chi or the Tai Chi, however you wish to say it, becomes the yin and yang. It's still the original information of the universe. So she agreed. Next day at coffee break in the morning, I look outside and I see my wife, Deborah, against the ocean of, in Hawaii, with a phone up to her head, calling her job. She's a psychiatric nurse, saying, for May 2019, I want 4 weeks off because I'm going to be in Cyprus doing this module. And we did. We did that with Bernhard and Raina and Liu and Britta and all that. So now
by the modules, because the listeners might not know, you mean the first module of the Hunyuan Qi therapy program, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I am a Huanyuan Qi therapist. Deborah did not finish the certification. We are both Zheneng Qigong teachers to Xi'an Research Center, level 1 and 2, and all this, that, the other thing. So after leaving Hawaii and Kokolulu and Team 3 and Liu, I had another appointment in New York City with Dr. Marr at Columbia Presbyterian. And now it's exactly 120 days from when my diagnosis was to when this meeting was. I'm a celebrity there now, okay? Because they just haven't seen this, okay? And this is Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, a mecca of Western medicine science. And I get received, it's short of throwing rosebuds on the floor. It was really like, wow. So the technician does their thing. The physician assistant does their thing. And I'm hearing everyone mumble. And then Dr. Marr comes in, he goes, as I've had like maybe two other meetings with him in between the surgery. And then he goes, well, let's take a look. And he starts looking and he goes, go get someone and go get this person and go get that person. And they all come in and they're going, amazing. Are you sure? Amazing. And he goes, his statement is, I've never seen this. This is remarkable. He says, the tumor is now at 1.8 millimeters and is simply scar tissue. And you are at least 4 to 5 years ahead of the healing process as I know it. Okay. No small words coming from a head of the department at Columbia Presbyterian. So I've seen him, off and on every 6 months. Now I'm at 1 year. I've been clear and clean by him, and he's always interacted, very well, and all that. And the radiation seed did cause, it's either pronounced iatrogenic or iatrogenic response, in the sense that it created this incredible cataract in my eye, which basically has led me to blindness for 2 years and no depth perception. I always like to say I only see out of 2 out of my 3 eyes now. And in January, I finally relented because I had tried for 2 years to get the eye normal, no cataract. And I wasn't successful, so I wasn't supposed to. It's as simple as that. I had the cataract removed at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York City in January this year. My vision is still difficult. Dr. Marr feels I will never have central vision again. And I said, well, I've disappointed you before in a very positive way. I will again. In fact, I'm going to go and get a pilot's license. And I have to have 20/40 vision in both eyes to do that. He goes, great. And so my eyesight is improving. Master Liu was here in March at our home, and we did workshops for a week here in New York City. We did eye work on me, and I have eye exercises that I do every day in my practice when I'm in the chi field and when I'm not. And I expect to have much more improved vision. My depth perception is much better than ever during this process. So I want to go and I'll speak to the other next situation about how the Jining Qigong has saved my life. I don't want to be dramatic. Anyone can judge what I've said. You never know what was going to be because you do what you do, because that is now non-existent. But what Jining Qigong has given me and what Huan Yuan Qi therapy has given me is a lot. And it's just so utterly simplistic in terms of how, Liu has said and Dr. Pong has said, Qigong and Chinese medicine have all these lineages, 5 elements, animals, this, and I did all that. And I was from all that. But I don't do that anymore. I just do Huan Yuan Qi therapy and teach Jining, and that's more than enough. And as you said before, Torsten, it's not about whether you're doing Tumbi or Qi Core. That is all very incredibly helpful, but it's here and here. What your heart and what your head says as your mindset and your intention. So I'm very, very fortunate at this life, that at this time in my life, the last 6 years, that I've found what my new point of life is and my life purpose. I knew my life purpose, but I'm executing it because of the strength of Jining and Master Liu and Zhen Shu and others, that I've met, Dong and all these people that are wonderful. And I embrace it fully, and I feel completely dedicated to it.
I would like to go a little deeper into the word simplicity.
Yes.
Because for most of us, when we start Jining Qigong and we look at the workshops and we look at the literature and we see all these books that Dr. Pang has written, and they're so difficult to understand. And then you come along and talk about the simplicity. So how would you describe the simplicity? What is the simplicity for you in Jining Qigong?
Deborah and I always used, and this was a term that Deborah came up with, simply profound and profoundly simple. And I use that all the time. And I want to bring up another thing too. I'm not a healer. I healed me. Okay. I'm a teacher and I help others heal. We all have the internal ability to heal, but I don't wear that title of healer. So simplicity to me is many things. La Chi. Incredible. Okay. In Hawaii at Kokolulu, I met KYM, her name, and she was sent home with get your stuff ready. You got 6 weeks. And she went to Kokolulu, and another one of the hundreds of thousands of stories of health. Her simplicity was she couldn't do anything. She had lost so much weight, this and that, and this is 15 years ago, and she's thriving still. So they did La Chi, and eventually she was able to do La Chi. Okay, very simple. You don't need to know all what's behind La Chi. Just do La Chi. Simple. And
just for those listeners that don't know what La Chi is, it's probably the most fundamental and simplest form of practicing Qigong. It's a simple open and closing of the hands. This is, with this movement, you basically expand into the Qi field and you gather Qi, etc. So it's not physically demanding. It's a very simple movement. You don't have to learn certain routines, but it is very effective because it's the essence of what all the exercises are doing as well.
Well put. Very well put. Yep. And For KYM, she did this when she was able to, after a week or something, gaining her strength. In 6 weeks, she went back to her physicians after doing this for 6 or 8 hours a day, whatever it was, and doing it joyfully and doing it not like this is a burden. That's also very important. Your mindset, how you're doing it. Alfie speaks to that all the time, Alfie Lama. Okay. And I can't say it as well as he says. So shout out to you, Alfie, brother. She went back and they said, there's no cancer, and had metastasized everywhere. She did simple with intention from heart and mind, alive and thriving 15 years later. So for me, simple is faith and trust. Okay. Intention. Huan Yuan. Okay. And Dr. Pong nailed it as far as I got it from, you can go into theory like those big, massive blue books that are very didactic over there, Huan Yuan Zhe and all this and everything. But you just set the intention and you transform heartstones and frame of references to a new point of life moving forward. And this becomes your unconsciousness or your subconscious. And instead of working from 95% subconsciousness of your life behind you and all those injuries and traumas and things that affected you, you now start transforming them so that as you move forward, you beautifully have a different frame of reference for yourself. Dr. Bruce Lipstein.
Bruce Lipton, yes.
Yes, sorry. I don't know why I went to Lipstein. I love Bruce. He's an epigeneticist. He talks about the subconscious all the time and how important, how it affects us. So that's my simplicity. Simple is good. Again, nothing, no aspersions towards any lineage, because I'm a lineage person in everything, including Zheneng, and I find it very important to have a strong root basis, but simply profound and profoundly simple. And it comes down to love. I feel that's the key of everything and the purity of it. So basically, you come from your heart, you're good.
Do you have any? I mean, I know it might be a stupid question here, but I'm asking it anyway, because we know from your background that you had like decades of work, with other energy work, spiritual work, all kinds of healing modalities. And yet, the moment you met Zheneng Qigong and Hunyuan therapy, it seemed to be on a different quality. Do you have any explanation, where the difference lies, or is that impossible to answer that question?
No, I'm going to go back to simplicity and purity. And again, to explain it a little bit, the cosmic egg of the universe created the universe and the energy was there. And the Tao Te Ching says the 1 became the 2 became the 3, the 5 became the 10,000. Well, so as you get into Chinese medicine and Qigong, as I see it simplistically right now, conversation, you go into 5 elements and animal and other aspects that are all after, and yin yang theory that are all after where Zheneng goes, which is before the Tai Chi or the universe splits into yin yang. Because when you get into yin yang, basically, without yin yang, you have death. With yin yang, you have life. And everything in between is mutable and changes all the time. The constant of the universe is change. However, the constant is the universe. So when you have Huan Yuan Qi, or the energy of the universe, you go right to it before it changes into yin yang or whatever else it becomes after that in terms of lineages. So when that was what struck me when Alfie and Raina were explaining that about Zheneng and Huan Yuan and their educational system that they have, new point of life. And it just grabbed me. This is so convincingly simple and pure that I'm there. Yeah. So it was just a aha moment.
Yes. I think it's very well said.
So I've never turned back from it. It's now, actually, it's now 6 years this week that we were in Kokolula with everyone.
Right.
So, if I may also speak now to how Zheneng Qigong Science and Huan Yuan Qi therapy and all the communities have helped me currently, I would like to do that too, if I may.
Please do.
So my beloved wife, Deborah, and our grandson left their life 2 years ago, 25 and a half months ago. And basically, there are no words for it for me, and it's unfathomable, and it remains devastating to me. Deborah and I shared hearts and still do. And it wasn't that we finished sentences. We didn't need sentences. We finished thoughts. And, she was happy time manager in Cyprus. She was in life just like he was, joy and love. And she never met a person she didn't leave them feeling better about themselves. So a remarkable person, and the love of my many lifetimes with her. In this time period, I don't think I can really safely say that I would have thrived as much. And it's a hard word to use because I go through everything moment to moment still. But there's a real strong question whether I could have survived this without Zheneng Qigong and the community. Teachers, masters, all the teams, all the students, everyone, my practice, okay? And my intention is to survive it. So that is so I can have my life purpose. But grief and trauma and loss are something that is very, very difficult to speak to and navigate. That's the word. I've navigated this as well as I have because of our belief system, Deborah's and mine, and our legacy, her legacy, and Zheneng. Okay, there's no question about it. I've done, somatic exercises that the West call, which I call Qigong. Okay, and they go there. I just have to say how remarkable it has been for me. And again, very simple and very point on point. Last year, I also did something, I created a channel on Instagram called Grief Rider. And Deborah and I have been motorcyclists for a very long time. And last year, in one 12-month period, I rode 39,000 miles on my motorcycle, which is somewhere around 65,000 kilometers in 12 months in 2 countries, 36 states in the United States. But the most important part to that, I did that for me because I was trying to navigate trauma and the pain of the grief. And it's what I could do, get my brain operating, something so familiar. And I also taught, and I also treated, and I also did workshops and all this kind of thing. But more importantly, in that 12-month period, I had 700 personal, private conversations with people who had losses over grief. And during that same period of time with those people, I did Qigong. I did Zheneng Qigong. Something as simple as La Qi brought great relief to these people. And, I've had 80-year-old men throw themselves into my arms over something that happened 40 years ago that was stagnated, suppressed, heart stones, and just felt so wonderful because of what he and I did, and many, many other examples. So I want to bring again to this, the simplicity and the profoundness of the beauty of Zheneng and Huan Yuan, and the people that I know in it are just all open-hearted. And I really can't come to like a person's name that I don't think has open-heartedness that is a practitioner of Zheneng. And I don't think it's possible because I think if nothing else, if you practice, it opens your heart. It connects you to your true authentic self. All that other crap that is our world is crap. It's gone. We go into our chi field, we go into our heart, we go into our authentic self. And these are 2 examples that anyone that knows me intimately knows what my journey has been the last 25 months. And, you know, I'm at the very best place I can be right now. And it's my practice and it's my experience with Janae. And I'm alive and I have an eye that's functioning. And this is a review. And, you know, Deborah embraced Janae incredibly. And she embraced Huan Yuan incredibly. She was so happy with it. At the end of her life, it was working on her frame of references in her life that I didn't even know that she had. And it was so beautiful for her. So there's all these layers and levels of what, you know, Zheneng and Huan Yuan chi therapy do that are just all available to us. And it's not difficult. It's simple.
So let me go back a little bit when you spoke about the trauma work that you've done with, you know, these people along your journey. So basically what you did is you had conversations with these peoples, and while you had conversations, you were what we call in Hunyan Chi therapy, you probably used like Hunyan Ling Tong, you transformed the information to the better. And that, you know, I know this from many therapists, how well this works. The patient or your partner, whoever you talk to, doesn't even have to be aware of what you're doing. The mere fact that you are doing it has an incredible effect on that person and can immediately change, you know, the reality and the framework and take the burden of the trauma off that person. And I think that is that's a wonderful topic that maybe, you know, you and I could explore in depth, you know, in the second episode one day, if you feel like you would like to do that. But for now, because you mentioned your work, I also would like to give people an opportunity if they want to connect with you, just to get an idea of what you're doing. But I know it's just one of many that you're doing. You had Master Leo over in New York, you organize workshops there, but you also offer individual sessions, right? So if somebody of our listeners feels like he would like to connect with you, so that you can support them on their journey and in their self-healing process, that is a possibility, right?
Absolutely. And I'd love to, my saying is I'm here. I'm available. Okay. I've learned through my experiences that I don't chase, I don't press. I'm just here. And if that's enough for you, then perfect. So I guess the best way of saying it is that I continue to teach at Vassar College. She and Deborah and I taught for 14 years there. I have a Monday night Zoom class that is available and it's sponsored by Vassar. I have a physical class at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. The plans are, as moving forward, to have more and more workshops and retreats. Currently, as you said, June 23rd to June 30th in Lucca, Tuscany, Italy. We're having a holistic retreat. The information is at the website that I just created, which is called zhenengqigongacademy.com. And
all the details will be in the show notes, so people can find you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. And my personal email is, I'll give it to you, but I'll just say it now, laohulonghealth@gmail. And hopefully that translates out to Venerable Tiger Dragon Health. I'm a dragon in Chinese zodiology. She's a tiger. So I'm here. I regularly do Zoom conferences and treatments, in-person treatments, all that stuff down in the header. That'll be whatever. I look to have the Tuscany as an annual retreat now because it's in a beautiful location and, you know, very facilitative. Eventually, we'll be having retreats here at our home and in Florida. And there's some other places like in the Caribbean I'm speaking about. If someone would like to have a retreat and you know, foster it, facilitate it, I'm fine with that too. We'll bring the team. We have our team is 4 in-body Huan Yuan certified chi therapists, Frank Fasano, Eugenio Juste, and Hilda Braun from Canada. We're going to travel as a team and always have my spirit wife at the lead and Deborah. And that's what I can say. I'm here. people sometimes say to me, what can you do? And I'll say, more importantly, I don't know what I can't do, because I don't want to limit it. It's been my verbiage for a long time.
Mm.
You know, I've been doing treatments for a long time, 12, 15 years, something like that, and had some absolutely remarkable circumstances happen. And now I do Kuan Yuan Chi treatments, and I have more remarkable circumstances happen. And Master Wu is always in the treatment field. He comes, and puts his chi energy into it, and you get a lot of power from Master Wu, our Siamese. So is that what you would like to hear? I mean,
Yes, I think it's just so people have an opportunity, people know what if they want to get in touch, and obviously all the details will be in the show notes. So I would love to thank you, Richard, for this wonderful conversation and for you sharing from your heart and about your personal experiences here. It is indeed, miraculous to many that listen to that, but it's also, a great opportunity to understand that a diagnosis is just, words. And I think you showed that. And yes, we have to take it serious, and but it doesn't mean it's the truth. It is just, what some other person, the label that some other person puts onto it. And I also enjoyed, how your way of detaching from it when you were talking about your eye and it's your body and all of that, but you never attach to the diagnosis. That is just something. It is an it. So it's probably also a great takeaway from this talk that I haven't heard so far in the podcast. That's why I'm pointing it out, because it might be very helpful for people how to deal with these diagnoses.
well, I think you're completely accurate. I just might add, step out of the fear or detach from the fear. I was afraid. Look,
Yes.
Torsten, I have 25,000 martial art fights, 5th degree black belt master from Korea. I was scared. All right. But I detached from it. All right. And I stepped into love. I just embraced love. I embraced my intention. Within 8 days, it got shrunk down 16, 17%. 120 days, it was gone. And I'll be honest, I showed Master Liu the video that I put my phone down or whatever I did in Hawaii, and he came into the room as Britta and Alfie and 2 other therapists were treating me. And in the video, it shows Master Liu, looking into my eye and, doing this and that and the other thing. And it's all great. I'll take whatever is positive, and I know he helped me, and I want to say that. But the team helped me. We are all part of the same chi field. We are all part of the same simple protocols. Okay. And I just want to say to anyone, you can do this. I never take away what the soul needs. I never know what the soul of an individual actually needs, but you can gain health. This is so simple. Just have faith and trust in it. Follow the good teachers, follow the good therapists, follow your heart. You can do this.
Thank you very much, Richard. These are amazing closing words. So once again, thank you to New York. And I look forward to maybe having a second conversation with you in the coming month about the trauma work that you did.
Very good. I look forward to it too, and seeing you and Britta in person sometime soon too.
We trust you enjoyed this conversation, and we invite you to subscribe to our podcast so we can stay in touch and notify you of future episodes. We will end today's episode with the 8 verses meditation performed by Jin and Qigong teacher Katrin Hendricks. Enjoy.
Ding Whoa.
To get your free ebook on the 8 Verses meditation, please check the show notes below.